Hello, this is Johnny Cycles with CyclesGaming.com here with a wrap up from my Lukka Surprise with Blood Moon deck and Modern. Overall, the league play was brutal, man. Just brutal. We went 1-9 in our two leagues, 0-5 in the first, and 1-4 in the second. And yeah, it was rough going at some points. Our first league, we ran into Yawgmoth twice and John once, and then Four Color Scam and Hammer Time. So we ran into two decks full of spot removal and then two combo decks that just don't really care about what we're doing and have actual main deck answers to an Emrakul plus ways to play around Blood Moon. Grist, man, is just so frustrating to play against. We resolve the Emrakul, they cast Grist, destroy it. They have Quarter Calling, they have Wall of Roots, they play their own mana dorks. So yeah, just lots of ways to play around Blood Moon, and that was overall what we found to be the issue, right? In today's Modern, opponents just played through Blood Moon, played around Blood Moon, or didn't care about Blood Moon. It did do its job at times. The question I wanted to answer was, can it win some games by janking out our greedy mana bases of our opponents? That was one. Two, can it slow down our opponents long enough for us to assemble our combo? In answer number one, I would say maybe. We didn't really see it. I guess against Rakdos Scam, we janked him out in game one, and we're able to get that game on the back of a Blood Moon. Against Is It Murktide, however, in our second league, that was another really frustrating loss. Turn 2 Blood Moon, they proceeded to cast 4 copies of Dragon's Rage Channeler, multiple lightning bolts. They just didn't care about it. And it's not at its best against Is It Murktide, but then in the second game, their draw was much more blue-oriented. And if that had been their draw in the game one, I think we would have won game one. But instead, they just had so many red spells, and anyway, it was pretty brutal. Like I said, so you just don't care. Some decks just aren't going to care about it, and that's what we encountered. We saw it help us against Yawgmoth in our final match, so it did jank some people out, and it did buy us some time to assemble our combo in several of our games. So I think it did what it was supposed to do. I just don't think that's enough. I think too many decks have too many answers or have other ways of making mana. So treasure tokens, especially from Shaman tokens off of Fable the Mirror Breaker or Ragavan hits. Too many decks have ways of making treasure tokens to get around the mana restrictions that Blood Moon enforces. Some decks like Indomitable Creativity deck. I mean, we got the Blood Moon down, and it should have shut down their game plan, except that they drew into 2 copies of Fable the Mirror Breaker. So they have main deck ways to get around it. So I don't know. The deck is fighting an uphill battle in many ways. It's a combo deck, so it needs all of its various pieces, which is a 3-piece combo. And it plays a lot of X1 creatures that die really easily in today's Modern. And they are part of the combo. So I think we're already fighting an uphill battle. Blood Moon I don't think it pulled its weight enough. I'm going to keep testing it out and playing it when I get over the emotional and psychological damage of going 1-9. But I will keep testing it out. I do think there's something here as far as janking out our opponent. It may be that we want to go more in with land destruction route. It may just be it needs to be in a different deck, and I think that's my take right now. Is it probably doesn't need to be in the Lukka deck. I think we want to go more streamlined into our combo, go full playset of Football Crater, Bitter Reunion, Fable, or maybe make room for some more interaction to fight what our opponents are doing and to buy us time that way. But I don't think it's at its best here. Maybe in a more dedicated land destruction deck it'd be better. Because the times we brought in Pillage to back up our Blood Moon, we just didn't get to see those two shut anyone down. Our opponents just drew into lands. And that was one of the things that we saw. And it's hard. You're playing Magic. There's variance. And we have a very small sample size here. But man, did we run cold at times against opponents who were running super hot. I already mentioned the 4 Dragon's Rage Channelers with multiple lightning bolts when we stuck a turn 2 Blood Moon. The scam deck, we got him. Man, the luck of exiling our 1 copy of Emrakul to our +1 of Lukka. We overcame that and got our opponent down to within lightning bolt range, went to kill them, and they had a Faith Shield as one of their last 2 cards to protect their life total and themselves. and win the game. I mean, it was just incredible, the kind of luck that we ran into on that front. Um, yeah, and then Amulet Titan, all we need to do is top deck a land to attack with a Hasty Emrakul and win the game. Couldn't find the land. Other games, all we need to do is top deck the Lukka, which of course the odds are more against us, but still, we're one draw away from winning. Didn't top deck the Lukka. Against our Indomitable Creativity opponent, we rolled the dice, got an Emrakul Owl on turn 3 in game 1. They untap, cast it to Fairy, bounce it to our hand. And I already talked about the other game where they got the 2 Fables out in the face of our Blood Moon. So yeah, I mean, just brutal running in some ways. A couple misplays here and there with our Force of Vigor against Hammer Time that we should have cast at the end of our opponent's first turn or second turn, and we didn't do it. There was some reasons to hold on to it, but we should have done it there, especially because after they untapped on their next turn and we went to do it, they had a protection spell, and then they had a second protection spell. So again, that kind of always have it from our opponents. Got a little frustrating at times, but that was a match that got away, as was that Rakdos or 4-color scam that got away from us. Yeah, so overall, I think the deck is better than its record. You're never going to go 5-0 or 4-1 with this deck, at least, once in a blue moon, perhaps. More than likely, you're looking for a 2-3 or 3-2, hoping for that 3-2, obviously. And that's about where I expect my janky decks to be, especially one like this in Modern. You would hope that it peaks at a 4-1 every now and then, but really, I mean, the bar is at a 3-2. Can we get there? And I think this deck can. It didn't, but I think it can, and I think if I got to play it more, I could show off some victories of it, and not just some of the power and the synergies. I got the turn 3 Emrakuls down. I got the turn 4 Hasty Emrakul. I was able to execute my game plan and win some games, but it just wasn't enough overall to overcome what our opponents were doing and win some matches. So yeah, I think overall I would not expect Blood Moon to just be able to jank out opponents the way it used to 5 or 10 years ago. Going forward, I think with this deck I have plans to try out like a 2-drop build where I'll cut all the 1-drops. It'll be a Jund, so I'll go into more like hand disruption, removal, my 2-drop creatures being Tarmogoyf and Orcish Bowmasters, and maybe something else, Souls of the Lost perhaps, and have that whole package be sort of manage the game in the traditional Jund style, chip in damage, run our opponent out of resources in time to stick a Lukka and turn one of those 2-drops into an Emrakul. We'll see. That's my game plan for the next Lukka Surprise edition of Keeping Modern Janky. But for now, this is brutal, painful couple leagues. I wish I had could give y'all some more victories, but we got games here and there, and you can see how the deck plays in those, and you can see some of the terrible luck we encountered along the way. And maybe next time the luck will be in our favor. But for now, this is Johnny Cycles from cyclesgaming.com. I'll catch you on the next one. This has been another edition of Keeping Modern Janky with Johnny Cycles. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my website, cyclesgaming.com, for original Magic the Gathering content. You can read about my Commander decks or my Janky Modern brews. My latest article is about the Zombie Precon and its effect on Commander. I give you a couple different deck lists. If you're interested in a science fiction/fantasy novel, be sure to check out my book, The Podcon. I'm publishing it serially, a couple chapters every month. Again, thanks for watching. Check me out on YouTube, Johnny Cycles. Click that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one.